I'm coming on to say it is day 24 since our mom was taken in the dark of night from her bed.
On the morning of February 24th, 2026, the family of Nancy Guthrie made a significant public announcement. As the search for the 84-year-old Tucson, Arizona woman enters its 24th day, the family has offered a private reward of up to $1 million for any credible information leading directly to her recovery. Simultaneously, the FBI Phoenix field office issued a corresponding statement directing the public to contact the federal tip line. What remains unchanged is the central fact of this case. Nancy Guthrie has not been found, no suspect has been arrested, and the investigation is still active. The case began in the final hours of January 31st, 2026. Nancy Guthrie, who lived alone in the Catalina Foothills neighborhood of Pima County, had spent the evening at her daughter Annie's home for a family dinner. Authorities confirm she was dropped off at her own residence by her son-in-law at approximately 9:48 in the evening. Her garage door closed shortly after. He is confirmed to be the last known family member to see her. Nothing in the hours that followed indicated a normal night. At 1:47 in the morning on February 1st, the doorbell camera at Nancy Guthrie's front entrance disconnected. Surveillance footage released by the FBI shows a masked, gloved male individual approaching the front door and tampering with the device. At 2:12 in the morning, motion was detected in the camera's range. At 2:28 in the morning, a pacemaker monitoring application connected to Nancy Guthrie's phone lost its signal. That phone was later recovered inside the residence, along with a required daily heart medication. She was not. When Nancy Guthrie failed to appear for a scheduled live-streamed church service that morning, a parishioner contacted her family. Family members arrived at the residence just before noon. They placed a 911 call at 12:03 in the afternoon. Pima County Sheriff's deputies arrived and designated the property a crime scene. That evening, Sheriff Chris Nanos delivered the first public briefing, confirming that what investigators found at the scene had caused what he described as grave concern. On February 3rd, the sheriff held a second press conference. At that point, investigators stated publicly that they had no confirmed suspects, no clear leads, and no video evidence that had yet produced an actionable identification. DNA testing confirmed that blood found on the front porch of the residence belonged to Nancy Guthrie. Forced entry was reported. The investigation had shifted fully to a criminal kidnapping classification. The FBI entered the investigation under federal jurisdiction, citing the nature of the case and the victim's classification. As a vulnerable adult, authorities have described Nancy Guthrie as having limited mobility, a pacemaker, and a daily dependency on heart medication. Investigators have consistently cited these factors as heightening the urgency of the search. On February 5th, the FBI announced an initial reward of up to $50,000. Around that same time, multiple media organizations, including a CBS-affiliated television station in Tucson, reported receiving written communications purportedly from those responsible for Nancy Guthrie's disappearance. These communications allegedly contained specific details about the victim's residence and her clothing, and included demands for cryptocurrency payment. Authorities have neither confirmed nor denied the authenticity of these documents. In a separate development, a 42-year-old man from California was criminally charged with sending a fraudulent ransom letter. That charge is distinct from the confirmed investigation and does not constitute evidence of contact by those responsible for the disappearance. The Guthrie family publicly responded to these communications. On February 4th, Savannah Guthrie and her siblings released a video directed at whoever was responsible, asking for proof that their mother was alive and expressing a willingness to engage. The family stated they were prepared to work with whoever held their mother to secure her safe return. On February 10th, the FBI released surveillance footage and still images from the doorbell camera to the public. On February 12th, the agency increased its reward to $100,000 and released a physical description of the suspect, a male approximately 5 feet 9 to 5 feet 10 inches tall, average build with a black mustache and carrying a black 25-liter hiking backpack. Identified as an Ozark Trail model, around that time, investigators recovered a glove from a field approximately 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's residence. The glove visually appeared consistent with those worn by the individual in the surveillance footage. DNA was extracted and entered into the FBI's CODIS national database, On February 16th, Sheriff Nanos confirmed the DNA produced no matches. In the same statement, the sheriff formally cleared all Guthrie family members and their spouses as suspects and addressed speculation to the contrary directly and firmly. A separate point of note emerged regarding the investigation's evidence processing. Reports surfaced of a procedural disagreement between the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI over which laboratory would process key evidence. Sheriff Nanos publicly stated the decision was mutual and did not impact the investigation's progress. Questions also arose regarding two sets of surveillance images that depicted the suspect in different states, once with a backpack and once without. Investigators noted there is no confirmed date or timestamp associated with either image set. Authorities state that any suggestion the photographs were taken on different days is, in their words, purely speculative. The investigation is treating both images as part of the active evidence base. As the investigation approaches the end of its fourth week, the combined reward structure now represents a substantial public incentive. The FBI is offering $100,000. A separate anonymous donor and an anonymous tip program had previously contributed a pool exceeding $100,000 independently. The family's announcement on February 24th brings the private reward to up to $1 million, payable only for information that directly leads to Nancy Guthrie's recovery. The FBI is administering submissions through the 1-800-CALL-FBI tip line. In her public statement, Savannah Guthrie acknowledged both possibilities facing her family, that her mother may be recovered alive, or that she may no longer be living. She stated that regardless of the outcome, the family needs to know where Nancy Guthrie is. The family also announced a $500,000 donation to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, acknowledging that the case has received a level of public attention that many other missing person cases do not. Savannah Guthrie addressed this directly, expressing hope that the visibility surrounding her mother's case would bring broader awareness to other families in similar circumstances. Approximately 40,000 public tips have been received to date. According to the Pima County Sheriff's Office, several hundred investigators are reported to be working the case across local, state, and federal levels. Investigators are also pursuing investigative genetic genealogy, a process that compares unknown DNA profiles against consumer ancestry databases to identify potential biological relatives of an unidentified suspect. This process is currently pending quality control confirmation of the glove's DNA profile before it can be formally submitted. As of February 24, 2026, Nancy Guthrie has not been located. No arrests have been made. No charges related to her disappearance have been filed. The investigation remains open, active, and multi-jurisdictional. The identity of the individual captured in the surveillance footage remains publicly unknown. Authorities are continuing to process evidence, review incoming tips, and pursue investigative leads. Anyone with information is directed to contact the FBI tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI or to visit the FBI's official website for details on reward eligibility and submission guidelines.